Well, welcome to, what am I talking about? Success Secrets of the Motivational Superstars. I'm Steve Gedeon, faculty advisor for students in free enterprise and director of the Ryerson Entrepreneur Institute. Goals are important because if your goals are fuzzy and vague, then goals tell you where you're going. Goals are kind of like a lighthouse. So imagine you're on the other side of Lake Ontario and you're trying to get to Toronto. Okay? Now, it's really easy to do that because there's this big thing called the CN Tower. So from about 25 miles away, you see the CN Tower and you just point that way. And if you kind of sort of head there, eventually you're going to get to Toronto. When you get closer to Toronto, you see an island. Oh, okay, you got to go around the island. But that lighthouse or that goal or that milestone helps you get across the lake. You know which way you're going. You don't need a compass. You don't need any of that other stuff. The wind can change, but you always know to go that way. But if it's cloudy and very foggy and you can't see more than 3 feet in front of you, then it's really tough to get to Toronto. It's really tough to get to your goal if your goals are fuzzy. So this is kind of titled Success Secrets of the Motivational Superstars. That sounds sexy, right? It's to get people to come out to start smart events. If you just said how to set goals, nobody would come. So it's got to be secrets. Ooh, it's the secrets. One thing that all of the success superstars say is that success and happiness comes from harmony. Harmony between your actions and your goals. So that, if your goal is develop communication skills, you have to have actions that are in line with that goal. But what specific actions? If you don't know what actions to take to, meet that goal, it causes unhappiness. Or if your goal is, I want to be a millionaire by the time I'm 55, but here you are at 40, or say you want to be, so I'll get something a little closer. You want to be a millionaire by the time you're 35. But here you are at 25 and you can barely meet, your rent payment. Unhappiness starts to form. I don't think I'm going to achieve that goal. I don't think I'm going to achieve that goal. I don't even know how to achieve that goal, but I still have that goal. And people become very unhappy about that. People say, I want to change the world, but yet I work at CIBC as a bank teller and I got 2 weeks vacation a year. And during my 2-week vacation, I'm not going off to Africa to save the planet. Well, you know what? I'm just a liar. I'm just a hypocrite. I say I want to change the world and I'm not doing anything about it. And then people are unhappy. I want to have a great relationship with my parents, but I haven't called my mom in 2 months. That's not a very good relationship with my parents. I want to have a better relationship with my boyfriend, but we had a fight 2 weeks ago and I never said I was sorry. And all kinds of unhappiness comes from either your actions aren't in harmony with your goals, or your goals are just so fuzzy you don't even know what your actions should be. But if they are in harmony, then people should be happy. And if you're not happy, that means there's something wrong in between those two. So you can tell that there's a lot of space down here. So this is why I'm doing this thing here. We're going to talk about how to set these goals, but goals are based on other things. And so, a lot of the motivational speakers will say you should set goals, but you don't really know why or what the role goals play. So, your goals need to be based on your values and beliefs. Seems pretty straightforward. Again, I want to change the world for the better. I want to prevent, global climate change or whatever they're calling it, but yet I'm not actually doing anything about it. What you're doing, your day-to-day actions aren't in harmony with your values and beliefs. This happens with lawyers all the time. You say that your family is important, but yet these people are working 60 hours a week. The kids barely know their dad's name, and yet, every day they go into work and they're pumping out 12 billable hours, but they're not happy because they say their family is important, and yet they're working like crazy people that aren't actually in harmony with that. And some of these values and beliefs I'm going to talk about later are actually very destructive values and beliefs. And so sometimes before you can even get the right goal, you got to fix your values and beliefs. Because you might have a goal of, I want to be a good friend. But yet your values or your beliefs are, I'm not a very nice person. You can't be a very good friend if you actually don't believe that you're capable of being a very good friend. And of course, all this should be based on reality. So let me give you some examples. So I want to have a goal. I want to be the heavyweight boxing champion of the world. What do you think? Good goal? I can do that. What, Dave? You don't believe me? Dog, you're dissing me. What's going on? Why don't you think I can be the heavyweight boxer? I can do it. If I wish for it hard enough and I work hard enough, I'm going to start exercising 9 days a week. I'm going to start packing on some pounds. What do you think? I could be the heavyweight boxing champion of the world. No? I can't do anything I want? Come on, tell me the truth. It's not happening. I mean, look at me, right? Scrawny, pushing 50. You know, my goal is I want to be the heavyweight boxing champion of the world, but every time I get out in the ring, somebody beats me into a pulp, all right? It just ain't going to happen. I want to start up a new company. My company is going to do faster than light transportation for executive spa retreats on the planet Jupiter. And I'm going to charge $1 million for space tourists to go to my executive spa retreat in Jupiter. Good business idea? Why not, Julian? Well, of course not. Until they get to the center, then they fall the other way for a while, and then they bounce back again. It's not going to work. It's not in harmony with reality. You know, I want to, I don't know, let's see. I'm a Ryerson business student. By the time I'm 25, I want to win a Nobel Prize. I want to get my PhD. I want to solve world hunger and become a millionaire. What do you think? Good goals? Bullshit. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. You're probably not going to be a Nobel Prize winner by the time you're 25 and make $1 million bucks. I mean, you know, you might be able to do all of these things, but it's probably going to take a little bit of time. So, you know, before we can really talk about goals, we got to talk about some of this other stuff. So most of this, you know, I'm going to spend most of the workshop talking about goals, but I'm just going to give you some background stuff before we get to there. So goals, again, become that lighthouse. So, you know, again, you know, you're on Lake Ontario, you want to get to Toronto, you're 20 miles away, but, you know, if you've got that CN tower to point towards, you kind of know where you're going. And the wind might be blowing directly towards you, and you kind of tack this way for a while, and then you go that way for a while, but you always know you're heading in that general direction. But if you don't have that goal, then you're just out there wherever the way the wind blows. You know, what kind of a career do you want to have? Well, if you don't have some kind of a goal for the type of career that you want to lead, then you just take whatever job happens to come along. Now, maybe if the economic, you know, crisis continues, you're stuck having whatever job you can have anyway. But maybe having that goal lets you decide, okay, I'm going to take this job now, but I'm also going to be working 2 volunteer jobs on the side and doing something else to build my resume because this isn't the job that I want for the next 30 years of my life. I don't want a job as a, you know, a factory floor worker in a manufacturing environment because the handwriting's on the wall. I know that job may not exist in Canada for the next 20 years. I don't want to do that. I want to do something else. I may take this job temporarily because the wind's blowing this way and I'm heading this way, but I know I'm going that way. I'm going to save some money. I'm going to get my MBA or my CFA or something else like that. You know, if one of your goals is you want to have a spouse and 2 kids, then you know you got to have time in your life for that kind of a thing. You know, maybe you should go to Lava Life. Maybe you should find, maybe you should brush your teeth. You know, maybe you should do all the things you need to do to be able to get the spouse of your dreams and become the type of person, right? Or have the type of life that can afford to have 2 kids and all that entails and stuff like that. So another nice thing about being a professor is I get to read about all this stuff. And there's lots of really excellent research done on goal setting. And the one thing that they have conclusively found, and this is going to come as no surprise to anybody, but what kind of goals produce the highest performance? What's that? Yeah, higher goals produce higher performance. Go figure. You know, if you say my goal is to work at McDonald's and be a cashier, when I'm in my 30s and live at home with my mommy and daddy, chances are you'll hit that goal, but not much more. And this is true of every job. This is true in organizational behavior. This is true in people's lives. This is true for sports teams. This is true for almost every realm of human activity. The higher the goal, the higher the performance. Mediocre goals, mediocre performance. How about level of specificity? What do you think? The more vague the goal, better performance? The more specific the goal, the higher the performance. Exactly. So the higher the goal, the higher the performance. The more specific the goal, the higher the performance. Low goals, pretty bad performance. No goals, what do you think? Well, you can still get some performance. I mean, people manage to eat. I mean, something still happens. But having no goals is almost the same as having totally vague goals. Not having a clue what it means to even achieve them, or if you've even achieved them, it just makes you cynical about goal setting in general. It makes you feel that goals are a waste of time. And then you hear people do stuff like say, New Year's resolutions. Oh, New Year's resolutions. Only losers have New Year's resolutions. Ha ha ha. Right. Oh, I set a New Year's resolution every year to quit smoking and then I break it within 2 days. Ha 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 ha. You're a loser for even having goals. No. Who's the loser? Somebody? Yeah, the guy that didn't quit. The ones that make fun of having goals. Yeah, go, goals are stupid, goals are useless. Nobody ever lives up to their goals. Well, you know what? People do live up to their goals. They do live up to their goals, and they win Nobel Prizes, and they win races, and they set world records. The question I would ask everyone here is, how much success do you want in your life? And how much happiness do you want in your life? Do you want an average amount of happiness? How about an average of, so come on, okay, now some of you are thinking, don't lie to me now. Some of you are thinking, oh, I don't want too much success. That's unrealistic to want too much success. I don't believe people should strive towards having too much success. What I haven't done is I haven't defined success. So part of the definition of success is success by your own standard. So for some people, success is, I just want to live in a country where I can have an opinion and no one's going to drag me out in the street at 3 o'clock in the morning and murder me. Like, that's happiness and success for half the planet. I just want to live somewhere where if I happen to have an opinion, I'm not going to be murdered for it. And you can think of all the parts of the world where that is the case. Or a definition of success might be, I want to have a spouse and 2 kids and a dog and a white picket fence and a house, and I want work-life balance, and I want to work 37 hours a week, not 70 hours a week. And, I don't need $1 million, but I just want to be, I want to spend time. I want to be not an average mom. I want to be a good mom. I want to be an excellent mom or an excellent dad. And that's their definition of success. Somebody else's definition of success might be, I want a 40-foot sailboat, and I want, $1 million, and I want to be CEO, and I want to change the world, and I want to get a PhD, and that's okay too. But you got to figure out what success means to you. A lot of people, especially in this culture, they don't actually believe that happiness is possible. They don't actually believe that happiness is possible on this earth. I mean, there's a lot of philosophy and religion that doesn't believe that happiness is even a good thing. Life should be about suffering. Life should be about suffering. And again, if you believe this, I'm going to go back. A lot of people went to, school with people telling them happiness is not possible. Happiness isn't even something that you should try to achieve. Life is about suffering. It's the human condition. And a lot of these values and beliefs got into your head. And if you've got these values and beliefs, it's going to be hard to have a goal for happiness. So these things are important before you even get to your goals. So, I guess part of my answer about, how much happiness is, first of all, it's by your own definition of happiness. And so I'm not going to tell you what happiness is for you. You have to decide what happiness is for you. But I would submit to you that you want as much happiness as you are capable of having. It's like health. How much health do you want? You want a little bit of health? Yeah, I want extreme health, right? I want as much health as I can possibly get. I mean, I don't want, maybe a little bit of cancer, because when you got cancer, you're happier about the health that you do have. No, I don't want any of that cancer. I don't want to compromise on my health. That's what a lot of people would say as well too. You need to compromise. You can't have too much success because, well, everything in life is compromise, But I believe in extremes. I believe in extreme health. I don't want any cancer. I want extreme health. I want to be as healthy as I can be. I want as much happiness as I'm capable of having. Now, of course, there's reality at the bottom of the pyramid, and reality says, sorry, Steve, you're not going to be the heavyweight boxing champion of the world. I am going to start to push 50. I am going to die someday. There's a lot of things I'm probably not going to be able to do anymore. Average goals and average effort will produce an average life. And I guess that's one of the most important things I'd like to say. And so when you're setting your own goals, at the beginning of this summer, what was one of the things I said, that the quality of your goals that you set in May will dictate the success that you have at the end of August. That's really the goals that you set in those first couple of weeks. And so, I was personally disappointed when I saw the quality of the goals as well as the aspirational level of the goals in these things. That by and large, there were very few goals that were, I want to do something great. I want to do something really important. Many of the goals were, I want to strive for being average. So I'm going to go through some more, stuff about this. Any questions about anything so far? I feel everybody's inhibited because of the cameras in the room. Is that true? So say something then. It's kind of freaky, isn't it? I'm trying to ignore them as much as possible. Yeah. She used to have questions until.
As the cameras go, chances are we won't even get your audio, so that will probably get cut out. So completely feel comfortable saying whatever.
Yeah.
So your definition of success, would you say it's normal to change based on where you are in your life?
Well, success is, you define what success means to you. Most people want to improve. And it's very rare to say, I have achieved the pinnacle of success. There's nothing more for me to do in my life. Like, that's it. I'm done. Now I'm just going to get drunk and lay around and scratch my belly and, I don't know what I'm going to do, lay around in the hammock all day. Most people start to kind of sort of slide if they've kind of sort of felt that way. So I think wanting to do better than your current state is a good, positive thing for human beings in general, that desire to always get better. Personally, I think that. Does that make sense? Important, though, that if you're unhappy, if what you feel is an important barometer. Emotions are important. That if you're unhappy about where you are, if you're unhappy with something, that tells you something. That means that something's wrong in here. Either it usually centers around here. That somehow you've set goals, but they're not in harmony with your values and beliefs. And so you got to listen to that inner voice. If you're doing something that you just hate, you're sitting in an accounting class, your goal is to get a degree in accounting, your values and beliefs are that accountants make a lot of money, you want to make a lot of money, but for some reason you're just unhappy in all those accounting classes. Well, maybe you need to pay attention to that and say, you know what? Maybe I don't want to be an accountant. Maybe there's a reason why I'm unhappy here. If you can't just kind of sort of, stick with it, maybe it's telling you that your goal isn't in harmony with your values and beliefs, and you really want to do something different. So it's important to listen to those emotions as well, too. But sometimes your emotions are just wrong, and you got to say, well, get over it. You got to kind of sort of rewrite your values and beliefs. The ancient Romans had this cool saying. It was called to live without wax. See, there were two types of sculptures. There was the perfect sculpture, and then there was a sculpture that had a crack in it. And so what you would do is, you can imagine, in ancient Roman times, you're making a sculpture, right? Tick, man, I just broke the nose off, right? Or something else that's dangling out there. It's, like an arm. And what do? You've just been working on this stupid thing for 3 months, And now you broke, a piece off of the nose. What do? You stick some wax in there, right? And you mix the wax with a little bit of dirt, you can make wax look just like stone. It works really well, actually. But there were two types of sculptures. There were the perfect sculptures that went for a premium price, and those were sculptures sine cera, without wax, which is, of course, is what we have in English now is sincere, to live without wax, right? Sine cera, without wax. Whereas the ones with a little crack in it, those are the ones you see in museums with the arms missing and, broke on the chariot on the way home or something like that. To live without wax, to live without cracks, to live without, these weeds in your soul, as it were, to live with, making sure that your values are in harmony with reality, your goals are in harmony with your values and beliefs, and your actions are in harmony with your goals. So, ensuring non-contradictions. And you've heard all this stuff, to thine own self be true, aptitudes, make sure your goals conform to reality. You can't say, I want a perfect 4.0 grade point average and I want to go into medical school, but yet you know that you're a lousy student. You know that you're never going to get good enough grades to get into medical school. Well, maybe that's an unrealistic goal. Maybe you're just not going to be a good doctor. Me, I pass out at the sight of blood. I could never be a doctor. Maybe I could get by it, but why bother? But what your aptitudes are is become great at what you're good at. So find out what you're good at. So, for example, if you want to write for Vanity Fair, are you a good writer? And do you have the skills it takes to be a good writer? Do you have the editing skills and the grammar skills? Do you have the imagination and the creativity? Maybe you don't have what it takes to write for Vanity Fair. Maybe you're better off writing for a journalist for the Globe and Mail or something like that, where you just go in and you don't have to be creative. You just have to go in and interview people and be factually accurate. Maybe that's a better skill set for you. I'm just not picking on you or anything like that, but another important one is honesty. Your words conform to reality. Life is really simple when you're honest all the time. Life is really simple. You don't have to remember what lies you told different people. Most people who have to lie are almost never happy. You think Bernie Madoff is happy? You know who Bernie Madoff is, right? The biggest swindler, the biggest Ponzi scheme in history, how many billions of dollars. He's not a happy guy. Lying to people all the time, going to charities and lying to them about, I'm going to give you a 20% return on investment knowing that I'm taking food out of the mouths of hungry children. You think he was a happy person with those lies? But I would say that he wasn't particularly happy even before he was 71, actually, but. Well, I'm assuming that none of you are serial killers. But I mean, people who lie in general are not happy. And I would submit to you that people who are honest are universally happier than people who are dishonest and have this kind of weird double lie and these weeds in their soul. Or, integrity. Your actions conform to your words. You say you're going to be at a meeting, you show up at the meeting. You say you'll have something done by Wednesday, you do it by Wednesday. Life is real simple. If you can't have it done by Wednesday, don't make the commitment to have it done on Wednesday. Say, I can't do it by Wednesday. If you can't make a group meeting, don't go, tell them that you can't come to a group meeting. All this stuff is, it's pretty straightforward. But for some reason, I think, a lot of people see so much deceit and lies and that you kind of sort of feel like that's the norm. I can't tell you about how many times, you call a tradesman, can you come to my house tomorrow and fix the boiler? Oh yeah, sure, I'll be there. 20% probability that it'll show up. And it happens all the time. It's just incredible. How many times people just lie about, oh yeah, I'll be there, and they won't even write it down. Now, why would you think that you'd be able to do this if you didn't even bother to write it down? That person's not setting their life up to be happy. All they do is they run around and they go to the house of whoever screams at them the most. And they just kind of sort of go from one screaming client to the next screaming client. And then they have to whine about getting paid because, now that you jerk me around, I'm going to jerk you around. And it makes for very unhappy relationships. Whether it's, Bell or Rogers or Telus or whatever, They promise you all this great stuff, you know, get my phone plan and, you know, all these great things, no dropped calls. You're lying. You know you're setting yourself for unhappiness because your clients are going to call you up and say, you promised me no dropped calls, and you dropped a call every day for the last 6 months. So, you know, that's not a happy existence for a company either. I'm going to talk about reality a little bit, values and beliefs a little more, and then we're just going to focus on just the goals. Now, of course, the next thing is really the action steps, and this is where most of the success people, you know, spend their time. So it all starts with reality. And the ugly fact of reality is we all have to work to earn a living. And does anybody here have $1 million cash in the bank right now? Anybody going to marry somebody who's got $1 million cash in the bank? Karthik? Okay, you're excused. Lexi, you're excused. Oh, you're not sure yet. My boyfriend's not making that much money, so you're going to make enough money. Well, you know, I mean, unless you've got $1 million in the bank right now, you know, the ugly fact of reality is you got to work to earn a living. You can be unhappy about that. You can stamp your foot at reality. You can whine and cry and moan all you want. You can demand that the government take care of you. You can demand free health care and a free job and free food and free hats and free, you know, genetically modified, free, organic, whatever, you know, and I don't want it to get any warmer, what the heck, you know. You can demand all you want, but the ugly fact reality is you got to work to earn a living, or you're going to go hungry, and you're going to be unhappy. So, you know, that's the nice thing about knowing what reality is you see, you can't be unhappy at reality. Right? These are the people who go through life. I'm a victim. I was born with the wrong skin color. I was born with an X chromosome instead of a Y chromosome, or vice versa. You know, oh, I'm a victim. The world sucks, or the world owes me something. Or you can say, look, you know, I was born the way I was born. I live where I live. It is what it is. I'm taking it from here, and I'm going to move on. You know, you can be unhappy about the fact that, you know, whatever, you're crippled. Or you can say, I am crippled. Being unhappy about this doesn't make me happier. So I'm just going to move on and have the best life that I can now that I've got this disability. And you see examples of this all the time, of people that overcome tremendous adversity because they say, you know what, it doesn't do me any good to be unhappy about something that just is. Sorry you didn't want to be, you know, whatever your skin color is, or I'm sorry if you're unhappy about what sex you are. I'm sorry if you're unhappy about, you know, whatever, you know, the socioeconomic position in life that you started with. Well, it is what it is. You got to move on from here. And wasting energy being unhappy about what you can't change doesn't do you any good. That's true about your skills as well, too. That's true about your aptitudes. You know, we're all kind of pretty much born with certain, you know, native talents, if you will, you know, a certain IQ, if you will. Some people are more outgoing than other people. You're kind of born with this stuff. It is what it is. Like, figure out what it is and move on from there. Say, you know what? I'm never going to be a movie star. Or maybe you could be a movie star. I'm never going to be a model. You know? It's not going to happen. So that's okay. I'm going to move on. I don't want to be a model. I'm going to go do something else with my life. But you got to know what your aptitudes are. You can't be great at something unless you already know that you've kind of got that skill level. Now, of course, you know, you can overcome certain weaknesses, and certain, you know, weaknesses are important to fix. But by and large, you'll be happier if you figure out what you like to do, what you're good at doing, and become much better at those things. I mean, let's face it, you know, if you were a lousy engineer, you think you'd be happy being in engineering? If you were bad at math, you think you'd be happy in engineering? No. My mommy and daddy want me to be an engineer. I have to be an engineer. I suck at math, but I'm going to be an engineer. You're not going to be a good engineer. Get over it. Move on. Become a journalist. You know, do something else that you are good at, right? Or, you know, I can't write. I'm not very creative. You know, why do you want to be a journalist? Go be an engineer. Just teasing. I don't want to stereotype engineers versus journalists. But, you know, by and large, if you don't have good math skills, why beat your head against that wall? Move on. Find something else that you are good at. And foster that. And people like doing what they're good at. People don't like doing what they're bad at. Getting back to reality. So this is, again, the thing about reality is that it's not efficient to whine about reality. Reality just is. And reality doesn't care what you think about it. But it's your job to figure out what reality is so you can act accordingly. So reality says we all have to work for a living. It's unproductive to be unhappy about that. You gotta work for a living, you gotta work for a living. The government's not gonna take care of you, the government's not gonna take care of you. You can be unhappy about that and lobby about it, or you can get on with your life and be as happy as you can, given the reality that you gotta work for a living. You know, reality demands you can't become great at something that you're lousy at. I'm never gonna be the heavyweight boxing champion of the world, and it ain't gonna happen. And no matter how unhappy I am about that, reality doesn't care. Reality says you weigh 160 pounds, you're an old fart, every time you go into the ring, you're gonna get the pulp beat out of you. And you know, I can fight against reality all I want until I'm blue in the face and bloodied and laying with but it's not gonna change reality. So another thing about reality is you get out what you put in. You can be unhappy about that. You can want to get something for nothing. And maybe it even works for you for a little while. I want free health care without working for it. Well, that's nice when you're 20, but eventually you're going to have to put back into the government to get that free health care because you just don't get something for nothing. I want, or people who cry about, oh, I want tuition to be lower. Well, isn't that nice? You want tuition to be lower. I want a pony. No one's giving me my freaking pony, You want tuition to be lowered. Well, isn't that swell, I want cream cakes every day for breakfast, but no one's giving it to me. You don't get something for nothing. You get out what you put in. You want A's in class, you got to work for it. It's just the way it is. You got to show up for class. You got to actually read the textbook. I want to have a fabulous woman who marries me. You got to put something into that, because a fabulous woman isn't going to want a loser. She's going to want, somebody who washes their hair and brushes their teeth and, makes a little bit of money and, has shared values and, good clothes and all that kind of good stuff, right? You can't just whine about something and hope that it's going to happen. You got to put something into it. It takes effort to get the things that you want. And if you want the kind of success that you want to have, it takes effort to get there. That's all I'm saying. This should come as no surprise, but it takes effort. And it is the hardest thing in the world. You want to be able to be good at writing down goals. Well, that takes effort. You can't just sit down in front of a blank piece of paper for 30 seconds because Nadine told you got until Tuesday and just barf out whatever you want onto a goal thing and expect that they're going to be good goals. It just doesn't happen. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've been writing down what my goals are year after year after year for 25 years. And I study this stuff. And I'm still getting better at writing down my goals, figuring out what goals are relevant, how the different goals relate to each other, how the near-term goals relate to the long-term goals, which goals I want, which ones I decide, that's not a good goal anymore, I'm going to change the goal to this one. It takes a lot of work. And so even during this little workshop here, you're not going to have amazing goals over the course of 1 hour. It's a lifelong process just to set the goals, much less to achieve the darn things. So it takes effort to become good at doing stuff. But you get out what you put in. You can't become good at writing down goals if you don't try to put the effort into figuring it out. You can't get happiness unless you figure out what it is that makes you happy. It seems pretty obvious, Figure out what makes me happy. That's a good goal. Figure out what makes me happy. And you can't have it all right away. You got to balance the near-term and the short-term things. So, sometimes you just have to say, what, I'm going to, I don't know, maybe I'm not going to take that vacation because I need money and I need to work this summer instead. Or maybe you say, what, I just don't have time for, reading the kinds of books I want to read right now because I've got to study instead or something like that. I don't have time for a family and kids right now because I got to, make sure I've got enough money to get a mortgage and get a house and stuff like that. So you put off the long term for the short term. It just is what it is. It's not useful to be unhappy about that. And the fact of the matter, the reality is you're in your early 20s. And it's going to take time to, accumulate the experiences and the skills and the friends and the money and the stuff that you might want to have. There's no reason to be unhappy about that. And you can't put happiness off. You can't say, well, Once I've got a red Ferrari and $1 million, then I'll be happy. Because you only ever live in the moment. I know this is going to sound silly, but happiness is a journey, not a destination, right? You have to practice your happiness skills as well, too. And happiness isn't something that you defer to a later time. So you should be happy right here, right now, with what you're doing. Kind of scary. Is everybody happy? And that takes practice as well, too. Because at any given time, you have a choice over your own mood as well. You have a choice of how you perceive what you're doing right now. A lot of bad ideas out there. There's a lot of bad ideas. I'm going to show you some buttons here that are like, you're all exposed to bad ideas every day. You know, people that accept things like I'm stupid, I'm lazy, I'm dumb, I'm ugly, or whatever. You know, these are things that, you know, little kids said to you on the playground. You know, they made fun of your name, or they made fun of your skin color, or they made fun of, you know, the house you grew up in. I mean, kids can be pretty mean about that kind of stuff. Life sucks and then you die. We're surrounded by these negative messages. So don't show this on the video. So I apologize for this ahead of time. But these are some of the messages. Now don't show, oh good, he's not showing this on the video. So this is some of the stuff that this didn't take me long to find this. And every day walking down the street, this is the stuff that you're seeing. Now, are these positive, value-oriented kind of messages? Do any of these beliefs get you where you want to go? Do any of these things say life, happiness is possible? Okay, I'm going to move on from that. But these are the messages we're surrounded with. The future's going to be horrible. We're going to be under tons of water. We're going to run out of oil. Nuclear power. Oh, we're all going to die from nuclear power. Genetically modified foods. Franken foods must be bad. Stem cell research. Unborn babies. Any new technological innovation, there's somebody out there screaming how bad it is. Right? I mean, can anybody name a technological innovation that there isn't half the planet screaming about why it's bad for you? Yet these are things that bring people, happiness and prosperity and cure cancer and stuff like that. And everybody's afraid of this stuff. So, again, part of being an adult is figuring out what your core beliefs are and whether you agree with them all, and which are the beliefs that get you where you want to go, and which are the beliefs that are holding you back. So if you say you want to write for Vanity Fair magazine, what belief is there that tells you that that's not possible? What belief is there in your soul somewhere that is telling you, well, I want to do that, but I shouldn't even try to do that because I don't know what it is that's bad about me, but somehow I can't quite cut it. And maybe it's not Vanity Fair because there's only one Vanity Fair and they may or may not be hiring this week. But there's lots of other magazines that are as good as Vanity Fair that have an equivalent level of artistic merit that you can go work for, that is absolutely as good as working for Vanity Fair. And there's a lot of things that you can do that are just as good as that, and that you can do if you put your mind to it. But there's some kind of value and belief that says, I probably can't get that. I probably need to settle for average or below average. Setting these goals make powerful changes to your life, to change the kind of orientation of the decisions that you make, the types of jobs that you get, whether you're satisfied with the status quo or whether you try to do something else, whether you're always striving to improve or make more money or change careers, or whether you're just kind of going, life sucks and then you die. You know what? I'm just happy doing what I'm doing. I don't want to, I'm just going to go get drunk with my buddies from high school, and life sucks, or whatever the three-letter acronym was, the reason so many people fail to achieve their goals is they never set them in the first place. So they set these kind of vague things, like many of you might have done. By failing to plan, they plan to fail. To some extent, this comes right out of The Secret, I suppose. Your mind is like the homing system of a torpedo, that a vivid goal, really visualized, helps draw you towards that goal. And that is true. It doesn't make reality snap into place to suit your whim, but it does act like a powerful magnet to say, if this is what I really want to do, and you vividly imagine it, then you do tend to act in that way. And that's particularly true of goals related to changes to your character, for example. So, for example, if you say, okay, I want to have good communication skills, and you break that down into, I want to be a good listener, and you break that down into, when people talk to me, I make the inner noise shut up, and I look at them in the face, and I don't think of anything else except for what that person is doing. And I make it a point to ask more questions than the other person. And I spend more time listening than I do talking. And I also ask for feedback on how well I listened at the end of things. Then you're starting to vividly imagine what it means to be a good listener. That's different than saying, I want to be a good listener. What does it mean? I don't know. I just want to be a good listener. And I want a pony. So if no target is set, it just kind of wanders aimlessly. You take the first job that comes your way, What did you marry him for? Well, he asked me to. That's it? You married the first guy that asked you to? Well, you kind of, want to come up with, who is that dream person, and why that person, and why would they want you, and what does it mean to be me, and what is it that I'm looking for in another person, and, I believe in speed dating. I can say no to somebody in 10 seconds, really fast. 3 questions, I can say no to half the population, because I've thought through what I'm looking for, and you should too, because otherwise you're just kind of like, oh, you want to marry me? Sure, why not? I don't know. Sex was good last night. It's bound to be good. Oh, come on. You laugh, but it's true. I mean, it's, people go to priests to learn about having, it's like you're going to a priest to find out how to be married, right? And they ask really tough questions that only a priest would know, like, do you want to have kids or not? Never would have thought to ask that question. Really? You want kids and I don't? Maybe we shouldn't get married, but people do it all the time. They do it all the time. They don't know, 3 years into the marriage, what do you mean you wanted to be a porn star? You never told me that before. Well, I'm sorry, maybe we should have had the conversation about fidelity before we got married, or stuff like that. And people make these mistakes all the time. I mean, you guys laugh, but people just say yes for whatever reason. Is this on videotape? Oops. Okay, so now we're finally getting down to the workshop part. So, part of success is the complete package. So, let's take Tiger Woods, for example. Tiger Woods may have had a goal to say, I want to be the best golfer in the world. But you know what? Being the best golfer in the world doesn't necessarily mean that he's happy. It's just one aspect of who he is as a person. I don't know if he's the best dad on the planet. I don't know if he's the best son on the planet. I don't know if he's the best husband on the planet. I don't know if he's even a good husband or a good father, or if he even has a kid. I don't know anything about Tiger Woods. I'm just using him as an example. But to be happy as human beings, it's the whole package. You can't necessarily be happy only focusing on one thing. And this is the hard thing, because reality says, you got to put off some things for other things, you got to put effort into it to do it well. Now you got to put effort into 8 different things. How are you going to balance it, if I want to do a lot of stuff over here and here, then what am I going to do over here and here? And it's like, but yet happiness is the total package. And maybe you shift during the course of your life. When you're in school, maybe you focus on, working out and, getting good grades, and then you kind of shift more towards career. Then maybe down the road you shift more to social and family and stuff like that. But by and large, it's the complete package. And if you're missing any one of these things, by and large, people are unhappy. And this is one of the biggest mistakes people make, is their wheel doesn't roll, right? It's a wheel for a reason. It's supposed to roll, right? If it's all lumpy and misshapen, it doesn't roll very well, and you get all these bumps along the way, and people get seasick and stuff like that. And so it's kind of a balancing act, figuring all these things out. So that's one aspect of it, is that happiness as a human being requires balance among these things. proper goal setting requires not just long-term goals, but also weekly goals. Nominally, the weekly goals build to the long-term goals. But if you don't do this, it's kind of like trying to get someplace without a compass. I want to go to Sudbury, but I don't actually know which way is north, much less have a roadmap of how to get there. I want to get someplace, but I don't know where I'm going or how to get there. And most people don't have a roadmap. They're just kind of making it up as they go along. They don't have a reason for, saying yes or no to some guy. They don't have a reason for saying yes or no to this job. They don't have a reason for taking this course over that course. They don't have a reason for being part of SIFE versus not being part of SIFE. They don't have a reason for watching Family Guy versus showing up for class, versus doing a good job on an assignment versus a bad job for the assignment. And without that compass, you're just kind of sort of floundering, and you're making it up as you go along. And sometimes you're happy, and sometimes you're unhappy, and you just don't know why. And suddenly one day you wake up and you're in your mid-40s and you have a midlife crisis, and you're wondering, like, who are these two little brats running around that disrespect me all the time? And, oh my God, I can't believe I married her. And, I hate my job and I hate my family. And it happens all the time. I mean, do you think most people are happy by and large? I mean, yeah, I guess I don't actually know the answer to that. I mean, going through life with a plan. I mean, imagine starting up a business without a business plan, right? I mean, what's your target market? I don't know. What's your product going to be? I don't know. How much are you going to sell it for? I don't know. Good luck with your business. Dude, you need a plan, What's your company good at? I don't know. What's next year's product going to be? I don't know. I'm just going to do whatever. I'm just going to go walking around and talk to people. Oh, yeah, I'll sell you that. Sure. Rohan, how are we going to build that? What are we talking about? Web 2.0? What? And then you turn into a thug, right? And you beat up, university kids for $400, because you don't have a plan in life. When are you going to lie? I don't know. Whenever I feel like lying, I don't know. So, again, the higher the goal, the better. The more specific the goal, the better. And this gets to the whole, SMART goals thing. So specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, timely. Which of those things that you did over the last 2.5 months are going to show up on a resume? Which of those things over the last 2.5 months are you going to write a letter to your friends about? Which of the things you've done over the last 2.5 months is going to, be something that comes up at a job interview or something like that, or that you're going to tell your parents about? But yet all of your goals, all of your big goals are over here in quadrant 2. They're not urgent, but yet they're way more important. They're not urgent. They're things like, I want to go and exercise. Is that urgent? I can go tomorrow. I want a wonderful relationship with my wife. I want to buy her flowers. Is that urgent? I don't have to buy flowers today. I can buy flowers next week, or the week after that, or the week after that, or the week after that. I want to learn French. Is that urgent? I can do it next year or the year after that. I want to read a good book. Do I need to do it now? I don't have to do it now. I can do that later. I want to write a new business plan for the Start Me Up program. Is that urgent? Is anybody screaming at you it's got to be done by tomorrow? You can always find a way to push it off a day or a week or another couple of days or something like that. But all of your important goals are over here in quadrant 2. They don't have to happen right now, but these are the things that shape your lives. These are the things that you put on your resume. These are the big things that become pivotal to who you are in the future.